The Story of Civilization, Part 2. The Life of Greece, being a history of Greek civilization from the beginnings, and of civilization in the Near East from the death of Alexander to the Roman conquest, with an introduction on the prehistoric culture of Crete by Will Durant. Chapter 13, The Morals and Manners of the Athenians. Section 9, Woman. As surprising as anything else in this civilization is the fact that it is brilliant without the aid or stimulus of women. Well, perhaps they just don't mention the name with everything. Because just like in Jewish culture, it's implied that the wife, whoever she was supportive, that the mother was instructive. With their help, the heroic age achieved splendor, the age of the dictators a lyric radiance. Then, almost overnight, married women vanish from the history of the Greeks, as if to confute the supposed correlation between the level of civilization and the status of women. In Herodotus, woman is everywhere. In Thucydides, she is nowhere to be seen. From Simonides of Amorgos to Lucian, Greek literature is offensively repetitious about the faults of women, and towards the close of it, even the kindly Plutarch repeats Thucydides, the name of a deceitful woman, like her person, should be shut up in the house. Well, it's talking about a specific woman, and honestly, it's not like they didn't point out the flaws of men, too. The seclusion of woman does not exist among the Dorians. Presumably, it comes from the Near East to Ionia, and from Ionia to Attica. It is part of the tradition of Asia. Perhaps the disappearance of inheritance through the mother, the rise of the middle classes, and the enthronement of the commercial view of life enter into the change. Men come to judge women in terms of utility and find them especially useful in the home. The oriental nature of Greek marriage goes with this Attic purdah. The bride is cut off from her kin and goes to live almost as menial in another home and worships other entities. She cannot make contracts or incur debts beyond a trifling sum. She cannot bring actions to law, and Solon legislates that anything done under the influence of woman shall have no validity at law. When her husband dies, she does not inherit his property. Even physiological error enters into her legal subjection. For just as primitive ignorance of the male role in reproduction tended to exalt woman, so the male is exalted by the theory popular in classic Greece, that the generative power belongs only to man, the woman being merely the carrier and nurse of the child. I think of all those surrogate women, and they, of course, develop feelings of attachment and stuff, but if they act on them, of course, they end up in jail, and it's like you're setting up a lot of people to have problems by that. The older age of the man contributes to this subordination of the wife. He is twice her years when he marries her, and can, in some degree, mold her mind to his own philosophy. Well, philosophy is not just quotes or mere opinions, it's a way. Doubtless the male knows too well the license allowed to his sex in Athens to risk his wife or daughter at large. He chooses to be free at the cost of her seclusion. She may, if properly veiled and attended, visit her relatives or intimates, and may take part in the religious celebrations, including attendance at the plays. But for the rest, she is expected to stay at home and not allow herself to be seen at a window. Most of her life is spent in the women's quarters at the rear of the house. No male visitor is ever admitted there, nor does she appear when men visit her husband. In the home, she is honored and obeyed in everything that does not contravene the patriarchal authority of her mate. She keeps the house or superintends its management. She cooks the meals, cards, and spins the wool, makes the clothing and bedding for the family. Her education is almost confined to household arts, where the Athenian believes with Euripides that a woman is handicapped by the intellect. The result is the respectable woman of Athens is more modest, more charming to men than their like in Sparta, but less interesting and mature, incapable of being comrades to husbands whose minds have been filled and sharpened by a free and varied life. The women of 6th century Greece contributed significantly to Greek literature. The women of Periclean Athens contribute nothing. Toward the end of the period, a movement arises for the emancipation of woman. Euripides defends the sex with brave speeches and timid innuendos. Aristophanes makes fun of them with boisterous indecency. The women go to the heart of the matter and begin to compete with the Irai in making themselves as attractive as the progress of chemistry will permit. What sensible thing are we women capable of doing, ex Granica, in Aristophanes' Lysistrata? We do nothing but sit around with our paint and lipstick and transparent gowns, and all the rest of it. From 411 BC onwards, female roles become more prominent in Athenian drama and reveal the growing escapade of women from the solitude to which they have been confined. Through it, all the influence of woman over man continues, making her subjection largely unreal. The greater eagerness of the male gives woman an advantage in Greek life as in elsewhere. Sir, says Samuel Johnson, nature has given woman so much more power that the law cannot afford to give her more. Sometimes this natural sovereignty is enhanced by a substantial dowry, our industrious tongue, our uxorious affection. More often it is the result of beauty, or the bearing and rearing fine children, are the slow fusion of souls in the crucible of a common experience and task. An age that can portray such gentle characters as Antigone, Acestes, Iphigenia, and Andromache, and such heroines as Hecuba, Cassandra, and Medea, could not be aware of the highest and deepest in women. The average Athenian loves his wife and will not always try to conceal it. The funeral stela reveal surprisingly the tenderness of mate for mate and of parents for children in the intimacy of the home. The Greek anthology is vivid with erotic verse, but it contains also many a touching epigram to a beloved comrade. In this stone, says one epitaph, Marathonius laid Nicopolis and bedewed the marble chest with tears, but it was of no avail. What profit hath a man whose wife is gone, and who is left solitary on earth? And one of the things about spouses that Islam points out is there's some crookedness or curvedness at the very least, and you don't try to make a curve straight. And, well, I mean, you do try to correct wrong, but you know what I mean. There are some mismatched qualities. And you might like something in them and hate some things in them, but you definitely focus on the things you like in them.